Okay, so let's start from the very beginning of the teaser, because the way it opens already tells you everything you need to know about the tone of this season. There's no slow build, no soft music, no easing you in gently. It just hits. And the first thing you see sets the mood immediately. Everything feels heavier, more suffocating, like the world of Landman has gotten smaller and more dangerous all at once. And that's intentional. The showrunners know exactly what they're doing. They're not trying to comfort you, they're trying to make you uncomfortable. And it works. Now, what really stands out right away in this teaser is Cammy. And I have to say, seeing her in this state is genuinely hard to watch, because she's not the same woman from the beginning of season 2. Not even close. That version of Cammy, the one who was grieving but still fighting, still sharp, still convinced she could hold everything together, that woman is gone. What the teaser shows us is someone who has been completely worn down by everything that happened. She's isolated, she's cornered, and she looks like she finally understands just how bad her situation really is. Because here's the thing, after firing Tommy, after losing Nate, after watching Galino walk out the door without a second glance, Cammy is completely and utterly alone. And the teaser makes sure you feel that. Every frame she's in carries this suffocating sense of loneliness that honestly just gets under your skin. You almost feel sorry for her, even after everything she did. Almost. But here's what makes it even more layered and more interesting: the documents. Remember those documents from the season 2 finale? The ones with no electronic trail? The ones that Nate told her to look deeper into? The teaser strongly suggests that those papers are going to be the engine that drives a massive chunk of season 3. And think about what that means for a second. Monty kept those documents hidden for a reason. A very serious, very deliberate reason. There was no digital trail, because he didn't want anyone finding them easily. He wanted them buried. So whatever is inside those papers, it wasn't meant to come out. And now Cammy, alone and desperate, and with nothing left to lose, is the one holding them. That is genuinely terrifying when you think about it, because she's not in a position of power anymore. She's not running a company with a team behind her. She's a woman with dangerous information and no protection whatsoever, and season 3 is going to make her pay for digging deeper. I can almost guarantee it. What I think is going to happen, and the teaser kind of hints at this without spelling it out, is that those documents are going to reveal something about Monty that completely shatters the image Cammy had of him. Because let's be honest, the version of Monty we got throughout the show was complicated. He wasn't a villain, but he wasn't clean either. He operated in a world where you couldn't stay clean for long, and if he was hiding physical documents with no electronic trail, that means he was hiding something from people who were watching his digital footprint. That's not just secrets, that's someone covering their tracks from people who had the ability to monitor him. That's a whole different level of dangerous. And when Cammy finds out what he was actually hiding, it's not just going to change how she sees Monty, it's going to change how she sees everything. The company, the industry, the people around her, all of it. And she's going to have to make a choice about what to do with that information while being completely exposed and vulnerable. That's the kind of storyline that keeps you up at night, and the teaser makes sure you know it's coming. Now let's shift to Tommy, because the contrast between his energy and Cammy's energy in this teaser is striking. And that contrast is clearly intentional. Where Cammy feels trapped and isolated, Tommy feels like he's moving, like he's got momentum, like he's building something real. And visually, even just from the teaser, you can see the difference. There's a different kind of energy around Tommy in season 3. He's not the Landman working for someone else anymore. He's not fighting to protect a company that was never really his. He built CTT. That's his name on the door, his family in the seats, his future on the line. And that changes a man in ways that are both inspiring and terrifying to watch, because the stakes are completely different now. When you're protecting something that belongs to you, something you built from scratch, you react differently to threats. You don't just push back. You push back harder. And Tommy is going to have to push back very, very hard in season 3. Because here's the thing the teaser is already hinting at. Galino is not a silent investor. He was never going to be. That chilling little moment in the season 2 finale, that subtle but unmistakable threat he dropped right before everything wrapped up, that wasn't just flavor, that was a promise. Galino invested millions into CTT, And a man like that doesn't invest millions without expecting a very specific return. Not just financial. He wants control. He wants leverage. He wants to know that when he needs something, Tommy will deliver it without asking too many questions. And Tommy, being Tommy, is going to resist that. He's going to try to do things his way, run a clean operation, build something he can be proud of. And that's exactly where the conflict is going to explode. Because Galliano doesn't care about Tommy's pride. He doesn't care about what Tommy wants to build. He cares about what benefits him. And if CTT starts moving in a direction that doesn't serve Galliano's interests, we're going to see a side of Galliano that makes everything before look tame. The teaser is already putting that pressure in the frame, and it is deeply unsettling in the best possible way. And then there's Cooper. The teaser doesn't let you forget about what happened with Cooper, and it shouldn't, because that situation is a ticking time bomb. Yes, the man had a heart attack. Yes, Cooper didn't technically kill him in the traditional sense, but it doesn't matter. The people connected to that man, the powerful, dangerous, well-connected people in his circle, they don't care about technicalities. They care about accountability, and in their world, accountability means someone pays one way or another. So when the teaser hints that this storyline is far from finished, it sends a genuine chill through you. Because this isn't just about Cooper anymore. This is about Tommy. The moment someone comes after his son, everything changes. And the version of Tommy that shows up to protect Cooper is not the calm, calculating, deal-making Tommy we've been watching. It's something rawer and more dangerous than that. The teaser makes you feel that without even having to say it out loud. And honestly, that's great storytelling. The threat is in the air. You can feel it before it lands. Let's keep going because the teaser has more to unpack and every single layer of it is worth talking about. So after that initial gut punch of seeing where Cammy and Tommy are at the start of Season 3, the teaser starts to pull back a little and give you a broader look at the world these characters are operating in. And what immediately stands out is how much more dangerous that world feels this time around. Season 1 introduced us to the oil industry as this brutal, unforgiving place where loyalty was always temporary and money was always the real language everyone spoke. Season 2 pushed deeper into that, showing us what happens when grief and power mix in the worst possible way. But Season 3 looks like it's going to take everything those 2 seasons built and then set it on fire. Because the threats in the teaser aren't coming from one direction. They're coming from everywhere at once. And that's what makes it feel so suffocating and so thrilling at the same time. Let's talk about the CTT team for a second, because the teaser gives us glimpses of the full lineup, and I have to say, seeing them all together as an actual unit is something else. Tommy as vice president, Cooper as president, Rebecca as COO, Nate running the financials, Dale on exploration, Thomas handling drilling, Boss leading the crew, and Ariana managing the office. That is a stacked team. And what makes it compelling isn't just the talent, it's the personal connections. These aren't just colleagues. These are people who have history with each other, who have been through things together, who chose to show up for Tommy when he had nothing but a plan and a pitch. That kind of loyalty is rare in this world. And the show knows it, because the moment something threatens CTT, it's not just a business threat, it's a personal one. It hits every single person on that team in a different way. And the teaser is already suggesting that those threats are coming, and they're coming fast. Now, one of the most interesting things the teaser does is this. It keeps cutting between the two worlds, Cammy's world and Tommy's world. And every time it cuts, the contrast gets sharper and more uncomfortable. Because on one side, you have this woman, unraveling in isolation, holding documents that could blow everything apart, with no one to call and no one coming to help. And on the other side, you have this growing operation, this team, this momentum, this sense that Tommy is actually building something that could last. But the teaser makes sure you never feel fully comfortable in Tommy's world either. There's always something in the background, a look, a pause, a moment where you can tell that not everything is as solid as it appears on the surface. And that tension, that feeling that both worlds are on the edge of collapse for completely different reasons, is exactly what makes Landman so good at what it does. It never lets you settle. It never gives you a moment to breathe and think everything is going to be okay. And Season 3 looks like it's going to weaponize that feeling harder than ever before. Something else worth noting from the teaser is the way it handles the Galeno thread, because Galeno in this teaser is not the same Galeno we saw at the beginning of his arc. There's something different about him now, something more patient. And honestly, patient Galeno is way scarier than angry Galeno because anger is loud and predictable. Patience means he's waiting for the right moment. It means he's already made a plan and he's just letting things play out until the time is right to make his move. And Tommy, as sharp as he is, might not see it coming until it's too late. The teaser drops this idea in a way that's subtle but incredibly effective. You don't get a big dramatic confrontation scene, you just get this quiet, simmering energy around Galeno that tells you everything. He's not worried, and the fact that he's not worried should absolutely terrify everyone around him, including the audience. And then there's the question that I think a lot of people are going to be sitting with after watching this teaser. What exactly did Monty know? Because the more you think about those hidden documents, the more you realize that Monty wasn't just a businessman who got caught up in something dangerous. He was someone who was actively managing dangerous information, who was keeping secrets from people who were capable of serious harm, and who somehow managed to keep a lid on all of it right up until his death. Which means that whatever he was hiding didn't die with him. It's still out there. It's still relevant. And now that Cammy is pulling that thread, the people who Monty was hiding things from are going to notice, and they're going to come for her. The teaser doesn't spell this out in obvious dialogue or dramatic exposition. It just puts you in that feeling of dread and lets it grow. And it grows fast. I also want to talk about Nate for a second, because the teaser gives us something interesting there too. Nate at CTT is a different Nate than the one we saw navigating the impossible middle ground between Tommy and Cammy all through Season 2. That version of Nate was constantly pulled in two directions, constantly having to be careful about what he said and who he said it to. But now, he's made his choice. He's all in with Tommy. And there's something about seeing Nate in a position where his loyalty isn't being tested by impossible circumstances that actually makes him feel more dangerous. Because Nate is sharp. Nate sees things other people miss, and now that he's not spending all his energy managing a situation designed to tear him apart, he can actually focus that intelligence on building something and protecting it. Which means if anyone comes after CTT through the financial side, through the books, through any kind of pressure on the money, they're going to run straight into Nate, and that's not going to go well for them. Rebecca as COO is another thread I think Season 3 is going to pull on in a serious way. Because Rebecca isn't just a title, she's operational. She's the one making sure the day-to-day actually runs, which means she's going to be in the middle of everything. When things start going wrong, and they will start going wrong, this is Landman. Things always go wrong. Rebecca is going to be one of the first people who sees the cracks forming. And how she handles that, who she tells, what decisions she makes under pressure, that's going to matter enormously. The teaser hints that she's going to be carrying a lot of weight this season, and given everything the show has done with her characters so far, I think Season 3 is going to finally give her the kind of storyline she deserves, one that puts her right in the center of the chaos instead of on the edges of it. Alright, so now we're getting to the part of the teaser that I think is going to generate the most conversation and honestly the most anxiety among the Landman fanbase. Because everything we've talked about so far, Cammy's isolation, Tommy's pressure from Galeno, Cooper's looming threat, the hidden documents, all of that is individual storylines. But the teaser starts to suggest, in the way that only really good TV teasers do, that all of these threads are going to start pulling toward the same point. They're going to converge, and when they do, the collision is going to be massive. Because think about it. You've got Cammy sitting on information about Monty that could be dangerous for a lot of people, including possibly people connected to Galeno's world. You've got Tommy in business with Galeno, a man who clearly has interests that go beyond simple investment returns. You've got Cooper carrying the weight of what happened with that man's death. And you've got the whole CTT operation sitting right in the middle of all of it, trying to grow and survive while the ground underneath is starting to shake. Season 3 is clearly setting up a situation where all of these separate pressures are eventually going to crash into each other, and nobody is going to come out of that unscathed. Let's think about what that could actually look like. If Cammy's investigation into Monty's documents leads her toward information that implicates people in Galeno's circle, which, given the kind of business Monty was in and the people he was connected to, is not at all a stretch. Then, Cammy suddenly becomes a threat to Galino's interests, and Galino already has a direct line to Tommy through CTT. That's a nightmare scenario for Tommy, because now he's not just managing a business relationship with a dangerous man, he's potentially being used as a pressure point against his ex-wife. Or worse, Galino might try to use the Cooper situation as leverage to keep Tommy in line. These are exactly the kinds of moves a man like Galino would make: quiet, calculated, devastating. And the teaser puts all these pieces on the board in a way that makes you see exactly how they could connect, even if it doesn't come out and say it directly. And here's something I keep coming back to when I watch the teaser. The show has always been really smart about not making any one character the pure villain or the pure hero. Everyone in Landman is operating in shades of gray. Tommy does morally complicated things. Cammy made genuinely awful decisions. Galino is terrifying, but you understand his logic. Nate walked an impossible line for a long time. And that complexity is what makes the show so gripping. Because you're never entirely sure who you're rooting for, or whether rooting for them is even the right thing to do. Season 3 looks like it's going to lean into that even harder. The teaser doesn't give you a clear good guy versus bad guy setup. It gives you a web of people who all have their own interests, their own fears, their own histories, and their own lines they're willing to cross. And then it winds that web tighter and tighter until something has to break. That's the kind of storytelling that makes a show genuinely great. And Landman is clearly not done being great. Now, I want to get back to the Cooper situation one more time because I don't think people are fully appreciating just how dangerous that thread is going to get in Season 3. The teaser makes it clear that this isn't going to quietly fade away. The man who died was connected. His circle has reach. And there's a very specific kind of danger that comes when powerful people feel that someone in their world has been wronged and no one has been held accountable. They don't go to the police. They don't file lawsuits. They handle things differently. And Cooper, as the president of CTT, as Tommy's son, as Ariana's protector, he's visible now. He's not some unknown kid anymore. He's a public face attached to a growing company, which makes him both easier to find and much more satisfying to go after for people who want to make a point. Tommy knows this, and the weight of knowing it while trying to protect Cooper without tipping off Cooper about just how serious the danger is, that's going to be one of the most emotionally loaded parts of the season. Because Tommy can handle business threats. He's built for that. But the moment his son's safety is genuinely in question, everything he built, everything he's trying to protect, becomes secondary to getting Cooper out of the crosshairs. And Ariana. Let's not forget Ariana in all of this, because she's the reason the whole Cooper situation happened in the first place. Cooper put himself in danger to protect her, and now she's part of the CTT family, managing the office right in the middle of everything. That's a lot of complicated history and complicated emotion in a very tight space. And the show has always been really good at taking those personal dynamics and using them to create pressure in unexpected ways. I wouldn't be surprised at all if Season 3 puts Ariana in a position where she has to do something, or say something, or make a choice that directly